Welcome to Happy Hour. Welcome to True Weird Wednesday.
Yay!
So behind me, you can see I'll duck. You see all the cardboard boxes and totes. Oh, we're getting Karen Mia ready to go.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm in my feelings. But I can always find a comforting distraction in some really sinister and bizarre story that I'm working on for this podcast. And I'm currently working on one about being buried alive, which was a real freaking problem in this country until fairly recently. And I know that's unsettling, folks.
So, Sherry, that whole Saved by the Bell thing. That now is that urban legend that they would put a string into the casket and have a bell in case the person woke up. Is that urban legend, or did that really happen?
Not only did that really happen, it wasn't super widespread, but Max, not only did that really happen, but and this is some cheerful conversation. You're in the right place. Welcome to True Weird Wednesday, folks. Not only did it really happen, but you have to remember that at the time that they were putting bells, they would have the bell above ground and then a line that ran to it, and they tied it to the corpse's wrists and ankles and neck. So that if the corpse wasn't really deceased, and the movement would cause the bell to ring frantically. But this was a time before modern embalming. And so, they were putting bodies in the ground, which is how they were getting buried alive without embalming. And so sometimes people were buried alive more often than you would like, because I think a number greater than 0 is too high, right? To bury anyone alive.
Yes,
I know I'm kind of picky that way.
Can get behind that.
But as the body begins to decompose, there is movement. And they would have the bells going off in the graveyard, and it was a false alarm. Yes, Heather, that is exactly the reaction that any reasonably decent modern
well, okay.
people would have.
I know something. So in 1915, there was a woman in South Carolina buried alive named Essie Dunbar.
Yeah, that's a famous case.
Yeah.
She survived. I have so why tell the story? Why tell this buried alive episode? Because we went through a period in this country in the late 1950s, early 1960s, when people made their living as buried alive artists. Mm-hmm. And so that's the story that we're going to tell. But you know that the way my brain works is I don't feel like I can just tell you that story. First, I have to get you good and freaked out by how many people were buried alive.
That freaks me out.
It's very, so here's the thing. Originally, we were, people would go into comas, and when you're in a coma, sometimes your breathing and heart rate slows so dramatically, and they would mistake people for dead. Then with the advent of mortuary science, they did begin doing some primitive embalming using like formaldehyde. Mm-hmm. And they would slice open an artery and the person would sit up screaming from the pain. That was a good way to find out that the person wasn't really deceased. So much so, you guys, that there were people who wrote it into their, like last will and testament, that before they were to be buried, a doctor was to stab a needle through their heart to make sure they were dead. So,
yikes.
Y'all nostalgic for the good old days could not survive a minute in the good old days because they were truly barbaric. So that's an upcoming episode. The current episode is more of a love letter to a chapter of American history that we have memory hold. And I understand why. Like, the Great Depression was so catastrophic for this country. It was such a devastation for nearly every single citizen that who the hell wanted to do anything but put it behind them?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. So the thing that you don't know is that the people, the hobos that were jumping trains, they weren't what you think they are. They were they were the opposite of what you think they were. And we owe them a tremendous debt of gratitude for some of the work that they did that's still happening today. And I won't, if you haven't listened to the episode, I won't give away the ending. Crystal's like, please do something less painful than stabbing me in the heart. I'm with you because I think stabbing someone in the heart, if they were alive, that might take them
I
out.
don't. Yeah, it's pretty tame. The Hobo King is pretty tame compared to some other things we've done. So
Oh, yeah. Well, oh my God, Susan Lane, considering I want to be cremated, I'd wake up thinking I was in hell. I read the funniest thing and I put it in the episode where someone suggested that the only way to be sure you weren't burying people alive would be to cremate them. But of course, if they were still alive as you rolled
uh,
them into the oven, that would suck a lot. People, here's
Scrooge, that
everything
happened in the movie Scrooged. That somebody was going in being incinerated,
cremated alive.
cremated.
It's just like everything that we take for granted, the people of 2025, everything we take for granted is so recent. Even
Oh, yeah.
DNA, modern criminal forensics, it's so freaking recent. And people back in the day, and the day not being very long ago, like Max's parents were alive, your grandparents and great grandparents were alive, maybe your parents were alive, depending on how old they are. So, but back in the day when all of these people that you know and love were alive, there's some guesswork.
Lots of guesswork.
There was lots of guesswork. So let's say hi to everybody. Let me go. Let me go back up to the top of the chat. Jenny and Susan, Ed, Regina, Cheryl. Hello, hello, hello. Teresa, Susan, Kim and Bev and Jeannie and Jason and Steve and Herbert and Mary Kay. Welcome to True Weird Wednesday. So, Max, take it away. Of the episodes we've done recently, what has really stuck with you?
Well, the one the Nazi farm that we did, it was a two-parter. I had no idea that went on down in South America, and that was a fascinating episode. But I have to tell you, the Hobo King was a favorite of mine from a producing standpoint. I loved the music that was train themed and the sound effects that were train themed and all the other stuff that I got to do with that. So I really enjoyed putting that episode together. It probably took me longer than a lot of episodes, but that was one of the ones that I
I
really enjoyed putting together.
I knew that you would like that. Hey, Amanda and Joe and Crystal and Patty. I knew you would like that one because we've talked about this before. You have this very deep, mysterious, and weird affinity for the 1930s.
I do.
And so I knew that once I took you to a train yard in the 1930s, that you were going to be right at home in that environment.
Yeah. And I think it's a fascinating story on top of all that stuff. It's not a story that I ever knew before. I mean, you've heard these terms your whole life, bums and hobos and tramps. And in this episode, we find out that there were differences between all of those things. And I never knew that before. And I never knew that there was a king of the hobos, and I didn't know that there was a hobo code, and I didn't know that there were hotels for the hobos, and I didn't know the hobos were migrant workers. I mean, I had no
And
idea.
hobo unions, they formed unions
Yeah,
because the hobos were people that wanted desperately to work, but there were no jobs. I mean, we're talking, people. Here's one of the things that kind of scares me a little bit. You've heard the expression, the Great Depression. Oh, my grandma saved the styrofoam meat trees. Meat came in the meat trays because the Great Depression. You do not know the utter devastation that rained down on the people of this country.
mm,
And there was no work. There was no work.
there wasn't.
And people they couldn't feed their kids. They couldn't feed themselves. People were evicted and made homeless.
Somebody
And
was scratching at the door.
hey,
I'm sorry.
Mojo, hey. Look at you, you handsome boy. Look at you. I can tell you got groomed this week because you look amazing. Um, Patty, we're talking about the current episode, the Hobo Kings. And Cheryl, yes, that's 2 weeks in a row that I've had a bra on for happy hour. Not to brag. Not to brag. But
My
the girls have been thoroughly restrained for your viewing pleasure. Um, and it's irritating as hell because it's hot and I would like to take it off. Um, so these people, they wanted to work. There was no work. And they didn't have cars. They barely had the clothes on their back. So they hopped the rail lines, sometimes with their whole family, to go to the next place where maybe they could make a few dollars picking strawberries or shoveling coal. It was all very temporary and seasonal and kind of catch as catch can.
mm,
And it's a really important part of our country's history because it shows the American imagination, that ability to pick yourself up and try to start over again and again and again and again. Um, so yeah, and now, when if somebody says hobo, they think you're talking about some seedy, lazy, dangerous bum, and that's just not how it
no.
was. That's just
No.
not how it was at all.
And the other thing that was fascinating about it, and listen to the episode, we're not revealing that much stuff, but I will say that the thing that was fascinating was I thought it was something that was started in the 1930s, and actually it's something from the 1800s, from the 19th century. All of that started then. So that was a fascinating little part of that as well that I didn't know.
Well, hey Matt, how are you? So if you think about where we talk about this a lot on True Weird Stuff, because America, I say this all the time, America is a really young country, and a lot of the stories we tell on this podcast are American stories. Not always, we did a whole thing on Jack the Ripper, but a lot of the stories we tell are American stories. And because I'm just such an American history nerd. And there's so many wonderful stories, and I'm like, oh my god, how did you not know about Elmer McCurdy, the dead outlaw? Like, how did you not know about this and that, and the real thing with Bonnie and Clyde? So with the Hobo King, Jeff Davis, here was someone who saw dignity in work, and that just because you didn't have a fixed address doesn't mean that your labor wasn't dignified and that you didn't have value as a person.
Right.
And so that was really cool. And there were a lot of people competing for the title of Hobo King, which is kind of hysterical. You can't imagine
That was the funny part about it. No, I'm the hobo king. No, I'm the hobo king.
it's just such a great story. And I think so. Max and I are in kind of a weird position because Max's parents, they lived to be more than 100. And so, they were alive for this. They were young, but they were alive for this. And I was raised by a grandparent who struggled through the Great Depression. And it wasn't until World War II and, my pup being sent away to war with the Navy that, food was a real consistent thing. Because the Navy, he had a paycheck now. So, yeah, I mean, look at what Steve Held said. My parents grew up during the Depression, so I heard the stories of what they saw firsthand. And that was probably the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say, you wouldn't want to live it. You wouldn't want to go through it again.
No. Sorry, I've got to let him out.
Yeah, take them.
He's decided he wanted to be in here. Now he doesn't. Hang on.
Oh, Susan Kirk, the part about the traveling waitresses. Yeah, I'm going to do a whole episode on the hobo the hobo waitresses. It was very difficult, you can imagine, for women to jump the trains and head out to a new town looking for work. There were a couple of really famous lady hobos that had like crazy nicknames, and they were very well known, not just in the hobo community, but they ended up being sort of they had like a pop culture moment. But we again, like we swept that under the rug. But for a woman, So it's the Great Depression. You're starving. There's nothing. There's nothing to hope for. Your father and brother and maybe husband is gone looking for work. These women were their whole own class of nomadic migratory workers, and they traveled together because they would have to for safety, right? And and they had an adventure at a time when, you know, an adventure for a woman was, a little bit constrained. So that's we're gonna do an episode on that. We'll do that down the road. We had some other stuff. We had some other stuff that we had in the pipeline already. So will the Great Depression theme go on to more upcoming episodes, or was the hobo thing a one-parter, Raven in real life? We will come back to this story in this period when we do the Lady Hobo episode. But we have a couple of other things first, including the episode this week, which was inspired by our listener, Brenna Ralston, who was curious about her last name. And she fell down the craziest rabbit hole and emailed us. And then Max and I went down that rabbit hole with her. And she will be joining us. You'll actually hear Brenna on this week's episode of True Weird Stuff. We went ahead and finished that deep dive into Brenna's last name. And I have to tell you, show of hands, how many people have pets? Yeah, you're not ready for what's coming with it's
Great, just great. Well, I'm looking forward to that. And we that the last few episodes we had a woman named Erin who's done some voice stuff for us. Who is really she does voice stuff, and
Yeah, she's a real voice artist.
she's a real voiceover person, and she listens to True Weird Stuff, and so I reached out to her and I said, look, would you like to do something for this? And she went, yes. And I said, the pay is nothing. And she said, I don't care. So
I wish it could be something,
she's,
but
and then this week she was looking for permission. Well, can I do like a little character voice with what I'm doing? And I'm going, oh yeah, go ahead. So
yeah, she's really good. One of the things I don't know, is anybody else a little bit obsessed with the way TV news reporters talk? That cadence that they have? I can't even imitate it. You know what I'm talking about,
well,
Matt.
there were a lot of the guy. So in a lot of the old time anchors, there was a guy named Walter Cronkite, and he used to talk like this. And then there was David Brinkley, and he would talk like this. And the reason that they would do that is they're trying to read ahead, and so the little cadence allows them a little time to pick up what's coming next and not make mistakes while they're reading.
That is so fascinating. So that's why they do that?
And really that is it was sort of a radio trick. I mean that's what they used to do in radio, and so all of these guys that were coming in television had done radio prior to doing television, and that's why they had that sort of weird metered cadence to what they were doing.
I love it. I'm like a little bit obsessed. I can't do it. I've tried. For some reason, I just can't even imitate it. And I'm a pretty good mimic, and I just can't get like TV reporter news talk. And so Erin can do that if she wants to. And
Yeah.
it's really fun. It's really fun to hear. So yeah. Erin was telling Max that the Nazi farm episodes were hard.
That was hard. Listen, that
They
was
were.
hard. That they were hard to do. It was just some of the things that happened with that. It's a story that needs to be told, but some of the stuff that they did, the reality of it is so horrific, and it's hard to listen to some of it. But
Can I tell you something? Not to piss anyone off, although pissing people off apparently is like in my DNA. But ripped from the headlines, there's a gentleman, an elderly gentleman, who was captured and tortured during the Pinochet regime by the goons in the Nazi farm episodes. Okay. And he came to the United States seeking asylum, and our country granted this man asylum because he was a political prisoner. He had done nothing wrong. His whole crime was existing. And it's a wonder he survived the interrogation and the torture. And so he came to the United States. So this all happened starting in the early to late 1970s. And he was just scooped up and detained by ICE.
Mm.
And, for a lot of people that are like, wait, this Nazi farm, that was real? Why don't I know about that? Not only was it real, it was in your backyard when some of you were alive, when your parents were alive, when the Eagles were singing Hotel California to packed concert crowds. And now this man who our country saved from this nightmare is living a whole new nightmare. And I know that's going to piss a bunch of people off, but what can I say? I mean, can you imagine my shock at having just written 2 episodes about Pinochet only to find this man in my newsfeed?
Mm.
Heather, can you imagine?
Terrible. That's horrific. That poor man.
It is.
Jessica, it is heartbreaking. I'm going to start to cry. I'm going to start to cry now because that man, a lot of the people, if you listen to the 2 Nazi Farm episodes and you want to talk about weird, the fact that you can go on vacation and do it on booking.com or Expedia, like my head blows up.
Mm.
If you listen to that episode, you know that an awful lot of the people that were scooped up, tortured, murdered, disappeared, their bodies dumped in mass graves, and then their remains burned and dumped in rivers were songwriters and school teachers and social workers and just people. And yeah. So it was shocking to me too to have that story come rocking back into the headlines in my news feed today. So, we have to always be, I think one of the messages that we hit over and over again in True Weird Stuff is you have to protect your humanity. Your humanity. You have to protect your humanity because it's easy to become numb and desensitized. And, there are a lot of stories that we do where, honest to God, the best thing that could happen to you is to be accidentally buried alive.
Patty Murray Lawrence is asking, she says, "Where are you from? I'm trying to figure out your accent or lack thereof."
Which one of us, Patty? Because
So
Max and I both have accents.
we do. I mean,
I got to
I'm
find a place to be.
if you get me wound up, you can tell that I'm kind of northeastern. I was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and my father my father was from the Philadelphia area, and so there's a lot of little things that I say like he does, because you either bond with the area where you're from or you bond with a parent
Yeah.
in an accent, and so that's where I'm from. And I think some of it's flattened out from years of doing from years of doing radio and doing voiceover work. The flatter your accent, the more middle it is, the better your chances of getting work.
But we can hear each other's jacked up
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Delaware Valley vowels.
You get Sherry
um,
wound up. She's drinking water.
Water. I'm having some water, and then I'm going to talk to you guys. So Max has lived in Pennsylvania, and he's lived in the Washington D.C. area, and he's lived in the South, and he's been doing this for a long time. So, and Max is a professional voiceover artist. So Max does not have the luxury of saying, "I'm going to kick your ass and then have some water," like he had to learn how to flatten that. And my accent is a hodgepodge of the Delaware Valley, the Philadelphia area, northwestern Wyoming, the South, and years and years and years of wearing headphones and catching myself doing jacked up things with my vowels.
I did have a compliment paid to me one time saying that I said swear words in the most articulate way this person had ever heard.
You want to hear something fun that happens behind the scenes on the show? We'll have finished the show and we'll be recording promos, for example, like Wednesday on the Bob and Sherry show.
Yeah.
Lamar cannot say this letter. He can Max, this is what it sounds like in my headphones. W W W
W
W
W.
W, W. And I love it. Like, I don't want him to change.
I know.
But when he's doing a commercial and he's like, just visit the website www, and Max is like, try www.
I'm listen. I don't know how much I want to stand by this, but I'm Lamar's diction coach now.
It's so true. It's so true. And Lamar in the episode that I can't tell you exactly when it's coming out. Maybe in 2-3 weeks. The episode, the Buried Alive episode, I wrote a part for Lamar because I love Lamar. Lamar tackles this with such gusto, doesn't he, Max?
He does. Oh yeah, he does.
That I like to write parts for Lamar, but poor Lamar, because of his accent and the W conundrum, poor Lamar, like we have a running joke, like, Lamar, I wrote a part for you, and this time you're not playing a simple but honest countryman, a preacher, or a sheriff.
Who saw a UFO?
Yeah.
The only person that dives into the part more is Don Morgan, who has done many, many parts. If you listen to this podcast at all, you've heard him do many different kinds of parts, usually reprehensible people.
Don is my muse. In fact, like I'll be working on something and I'll come across something else and I'll be like, I get like, you know how the Grinch had that smile that just sort of slowly, and I'm like, is this a deranged racist sex fiend cult leader? Don Morgan?
Don, and I sort of, I'll email him and, Don, can you voice this? Yes, I can. Let's go. And this time, Sherry had him singing, and she said, well, I'm going to send it to him. They're singing. And of course, Don was in a band at one point along the line. He's a musician and he's an artist and he's an actor and he's so many things. And I had no doubt at all that he would give it his all and that he would sing in it. So if you listen to the latest episode, if you haven't yet, you can.
Blessed, he had two. He had to sing the Hotel de Gank hobo song that Jeff Davis, the Hobo King, made up. And he sang part of Gentle on My Mind, the Glenn Campbell song, all a cappella. He is fearless. Like, Don is a Renaissance man who's done a gazillion things with his life, but I swear to God, he was born for this. Like,
Yeah, he was.
He's so good. So I have we have the episode that'll drop this Friday features Don and Max. I try to write parts for Max so that he can do his acting thing, but then he also has to do all this other stuff. But Max and Don are going to play against each other in this one, which is really great fun.
Yeah.
Julie said, I moved from South Florida, which is basically not the South, to North Florida, which is the South.
Yes.
And only people from there understand what Julie's saying, but it's so true. She said, I still remember when I realized I'd lost my G's. Now I'm talking or walking or going.
That's a very American thing, because when you do a British accent, that's the one thing you realize as Americans, we sort of roll that off. Going, you're not, if you listen to a British person, they are going,
yes.
Going.
I've been married to a man with a thick Southern accent for so long. And so I've picked up a lot of his sayings, like fixin' and reckon, and plus the Lamar factor, the Lamar influence.
I feel like I'm channeling Bob when I explain what fixing to. That means that he's in preparation. He's preparing to do something.
He's fixing. He's gonna get to it. It's definitely gonna get done. And he's letting you know that he's fixing to commence to getting it done. Yeah. And he reckons it'll take the time it takes. I just love it, man. I love that. Matt said, I forget the name of the condition you mentioned this week in Hobo King, that inability to stay in one place. The word is dromomania. I'm afraid I can relate to that all too well. It was a bigger problem when I was younger. That was the beauty of, there was a period of time in America and also in Europe, but let's stick to America, where choosing to be a tramp was like an honorable artistic decision. A tramp was someone that could not stay in one place, that didn't want a 9-to-5 lockdown job. They didn't want to be fenced in. They wandered. Jack Kerouac was a tramp. right?
Yeah.
We know Max and I have friends and people that we know who are modern day
Trans.
trans.
They call them nomad. A lot of them are
Yeah.
nomads. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, once upon a time, not all that long ago, we we had room in American culture for ideas about how people might choose to spend their lives. Now, because about 45% of every nickel we earn goes to just keep a roof over our heads and keep us from starving to death, we don't necessarily have the kind of freedom that our ancestors did.
Mm.
But you could choose to say, yeah, this life isn't for me,
Yeah.
and take to the road. Um,
We've
People did.
and I think we talked about it after the episode. I think there's a part of me that romanticizes that, but I think the reality is I want to be in one place. I don't. I want to go out, but then at some point along the line, I'm going, all right, it's time to go home. Even when I go on vacation, I go, all right, it's time to go home.
I'm a road animal who has made other choices, but like all of my daydreams begin with a Sprinter van and end with me just heading out. And it's not something that I think will happen for me because I have a job. And my excuse used to be, well, I have kids, but I'm like Karamia's heading out in a few days, like a week. And technically, I have pets now. But in my perfect world, I would spend a couple few years just on the road. And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be fancy. Like, I just like, you guys, I can't tell you how cool it is to roll into a town that you've never been before and drive around and look at the Van Buren, Arkansas. Went to Van Buren, Arkansas, drove around. I looked at people's houses and at the schools and grocery stores, the parks, the river. And I tried to imagine, like, who lives here? What do they do? Like, what is it like to live in Van Buren, Arkansas? What is it like to live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho? What is it like to live in Cedar Point, Utah? All these gazillion towns that are scattered all over the country where people are living,
And
you know,
you have to get off the interstate.
to
You
see
just
it.
have to
Yeah.
get off. Somebody's asking if this is a Boy Scout uniform behind me. No, that's not. It's a sport jacket and a tie. When Sherry says I work in a closet, I pretty much work in a closet.
With all of the things that are also in the closet, like his jacket and tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max doesn't have a window. And like we joke about that, but I want y'all to stop and think about Max's life. Max works in a hot windowless closet for, this is not an exaggeration, a minimum of 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah. I sitting here in front of digital editing screen. Yeah. But there's a lot of this that I enjoy. I mean, the thing that I've always loved about True Weird Stuff, and I was thinking about this this afternoon when I was out walking Mojo, is that I was always fascinated with old time radio because they would tell the stories and they had the actors and they would do the sound effects and the music. Of course, they were doing it all live, which also was sort of fascinating as well. But I just feel like this is sort of the marriage of all my favorite things, acting, old time radio, all of that stuff in order to tell a story and create the theater in the mind. And it's one of the things that I really love about doing this.
That's what was so neat. Like it evolved from the beginning. We didn't know what it was when we started it. We were like, let's do this and it'll tell us what it is as we go. And I guess we were maybe 6 months in when Max said, I think this is like theater mixed with old time radio. And because I wanted to grow up to be an anthropology professor, I just I need y'all to gather around so that I can explain your own culture to you. And so winning, like, I'm sorry, the W word, W.
W. W.
All of those needs are being met. And I just want to say, Matt Hardesty just said, there's nothing in my closet. And my brother, let me back that up and double confirm it and remind you and Heather that you gave us the weekend of a lifetime.
And I saw it. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you too, Matt. Maybe
Oh my
another
God,
time.
Matt is so much fun. Joe Penny says her husband is retired Navy. They lived in Hawaii, Guam, Spain, Washington, Charleston, New London, Connecticut, Alabama. Wow. I miss that travel so much. God, what an adventure that would be. Ah, oh, can you imagine, Max?
Herbert Davis asked, does Max get overtime? Let's talk to Tony about that.
Wait, stop. I feel faint. Does Max get overtime? He does get overtime. Now, he doesn't get paid for it, but he gets plenty of overtime, don't you, Max?
Yeah, I get plenty of overtime. That's true.
Oh, plenty of overtime. So let's talk about we needed to take a couple of weeks off for all kinds of reasons. And so we revisited a couple of our favorite episodes this summer. The Sea Demon Shark Story,
Yeah.
which is such a, I mean, whoa, that was a sentient shark, Max. That
Yeah.
was a shark who was about his business.
That's an amazing story. I mean, it really is. And it's a true story as well. And so many different people reported the same thing with the same shark. And so you know that it's not an urban legend. This was a real shark.
And we revisited Governor Morris, my favorite founding father. And the fact that nobody knows anything about Governor Morris blows my mind because he
Yeah.
is truly, I mean, he hung out in the bathroom with Marie Antoinette. He was BFFs with George Washington. He was a ladies'
He was a ladies'
man.
man. Yeah.
Governor Morris, you guys, coined the phrase, "We the people."
I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly. Kiana Milner. Over time, he can't even order orange juice. That is a deep inside Bob and Sherry joke. That,
It's
from
so
when I traveled
true.
with Tony one time, and he says, "Do you want orange juice with breakfast?" And I said, "You want large or small?" I said, "Oh, I'll get large." And I remember Tony, it was like electricity went through him because extra money was being spent on orange juice.
We kicked Tony's ass one side up the other, but if so, Tony and I are partners, and my attitude toward money is let's spend it, and Tony's attitude is let's don't spend it. And so somehow between the two of us, we keep the business alive. But like Max needed equipment. He needed equipment. So I called Tony and was like, you understand that the show is made up of invisible things that fly through the sky. And if Max doesn't have the equipment to make the invisible things and send them into the sky, we don't have a show. He needs this equipment.
I, like I've got monitors that I bought at a used computer store 5 years ago when we went into the pandemic, and I'm going, Tony, I think we need a little,
I want to say this for Tony. Tony is very budget conscious, but Tony doesn't ask you to do anything or me to do anything that he's not already doing. So 2020, the pandemic comes, everything gets shut down. We get kicked out of our building where all of the equipment was. And we have literally a weekend to figure out how we're going to bring you a show and these podcasts. So we're scrambling. We don't even know what we need.
no.
We don't even know what to buy. And Tony's like, all right, we're going to get this and we're going to get that. And Tony goes to a yard sale in his neighborhood in Colorado and
He
buys
did.
some gear for himself at a yard sale. And that stuff lasted for years. Like that stuff didn't know him a nickel. Like Tony doesn't ask you to go without a large OJ or a functional computer while he himself is enjoying those things. Absolutely not.
No. It's it's not like he's spending it on himself. No, he's thrifty about everything.
He really is. And he needs to be. This is what makes Tony and I such a great team because my feeling is, well, we need it. We need to buy it. We should have it. Tony's feeling is, do we though? Should we?
I in traveling with him the one time, and it was that trip we went for lunch. So we're on the road and we're traveling and we're going up through Kentucky. And we stop on, the side of the road, and we're going to stop at Long John Silver's. He tells me when we walk in, get whatever you want. He's not doing it to be funny. He was, get whatever you want.
I wonder if he included the extra crunchies that you can get that Lamar told us about. Who even
Yeah,
knows?
listen. I didn't know about the extra crunchies at that point. Not until Lamar did I know that you could ask for those and get those. So
Crunchies. Yeah, Lamar, we've opened Lamar's world quite a bit, and he has opened our world quite a bit too. I'm getting questions about Kevin's dog, Bridger. Bridger he can go up the stairs, but he's afraid to come down the stairs. And so he knows I'm down here, but he's terrified to come down the stairs. So he'll start showing up for happy hour once we convince him that going up and down the stairs is fine, that he can manage that. I mean, bless his heart. He's only been with us now for, I think, 5 weeks, Max.
yeah, it's about right. Yeah,
5
it's a little
weeks.
over a month. Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good for considering that's how it was. Oh my God, Matt Hardesty, do you know about the extra crunchies? We didn't even know about it
We didn't know
till
about it.
Lamar told us that you could go to the counter at Long John Silver's and ask for extra crunchies, which is just crumbs from the deep fryer. But the thing that made us laugh so hard about that on that day was we knew that Lamar could ask for extra crunchies, but that if Bob Lacey approached a cashier at Long John Silver's and asked for extra crunchies, the police would be summoned and Bob would be arrested.
It's true. Maybe it was how he asked.
The cashier would be like, "I'm sorry, what, sir?" And Bob would say, "My friend told me that you'll give me a cup of crumbs from the deep fryer." Sir, a cup of crumbs, that isn't a thing. No, I want the extra crunchies. Sir, we don't do that here. No, you have to give me the extra crunchies. Sir, take a seat or I'm calling the police.
That's exactly how it would all go.
I was on the phone with Bob yesterday. He sends his love, y'all, by the way. He had a great time in Maine. I mean, he had the best time in Maine.
Yeah.
he had such a good time. He said, "Tell everybody I miss them and I love them and hello from me." Then he asked me how my True Weird Crime show was coming.
I know. Anytime he's never listened to it. Of course, I don't think he's listened to any podcast ever.
I don't think
He's
so.
never listened to this one. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah. It's not his thing. So much of what we do in True Weird Stuff circles back to the simple fact that you are gonna die. So stop being such a dick. Bob's good with the second part of the message, not so much the first part of the message. Mia O'Brien, is the True Weird Stuff hoodie available? It's not on the shop site. Right now, we've only made it something you can win. We haven't added it to the store because we wanted it to be special.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would like to, Tony is pulling people at random who go over to trueweirdstuff.com and sign up for notifications. Eventually, we're going to send out a True Weird Stuff newsletter. Not this day, because we don't know how we would get that done.
And as we like to say, stylish enough to wear to an arraignment, sturdy enough to rob a grave.
You really could rob a grave in this thing, because y'all know, like I would let Max have the True Orange juice and we'd all be in chapter 11 right now. Y'all know that I cannot abide anything cheap and shitty. So these are really, Heather has one. Are these not really?
Oh, I love it.
Nice hoodies.
In fact, I'm on my second one because my best friend stole my first. She liked it too.
It's quality, y'all. So I would love for you to go over to trueweirdstuff.com and win one of these. Leslie Taylor, since Bob is retired, do you think you could do an episode on true ghost stories? We did an episode called Mother and Ghost. Mm-hmm. It's really about a mother's love and about grief, but it's also about a famous haunted house in the Midwest. So if you want to listen to a true ghost story, because see, that's the rule with this podcast that we set. there has to be a true dimension to the story. There has to be. And like, I thought somebody DM'd me and said, do a True Weird Stuff on the ghost hunter guy whose wife tried to kill him. But I don't know if y'all, I'm going to tell y'all something that you may not have really noticed or thought about. We try not to do stories where people's family and friends are alive and grieving.
Mm.
We try not to, because I feel like that's weird and painful.
Yeah.
So if I want to do, like, we have an episode coming up, we have a wild story for you coming up that includes the multiverse and the possibility of falling through parallel worlds and being lost forever. But there's no way that I want to tell that story and use somebody whose mom could hear it and feel like we were having a good time at
Yeah.
her
Somebody's grief.
at
Yeah.
her pain. And that's not, no judgment on what anybody else is doing or however anybody else operates, but we try to not do that. And so the ghost hunter murder thing, which was a crazy story, we wouldn't touch because the people are alive
Right.
Yeah.
to hear
Sherry,
it.
have we explained that to go to trueweirdstuff.com and sign up for the news for the
I kind
little
of did, but not in a
okay,
very
yeah.
efficient way, Max.
If you do that, we're at random giving away these hoodies if you do that. And so go and you can join us at the True Weird table, the cool kids table, the True Weird table.
And we have a bunch of these hoodies. Like, we ordered a bunch just for this reason, and all of them will be given away. And then maybe eventually we'll add them to the store.
Mm-hmm.
But
We will.
so, like, Regina's obsessed with the multiverse. Ghost Adventures. Thank you, Sandra Denise, for correcting me. It's Ghost Adventures, not Ghost Hunters. I appreciate that. Thank you. Regina's obsessed with the multiverse, and so am I. And one of the things I think about a lot with the multiverse, I'm obsessed with the concept of glitching through time, which, if you're into Reddit, oh my God, like, there's so many great time glitch stories on Reddit. There's a bunch on YouTube too. I'm obsessed with this idea that you could accidentally penetrate the boundary between worlds and be lost forever to the people in this world. You're keeping on in the world next door that looks familiar but is not your world. And there are so many great stories online. Who knows if they're true about the one that has really stayed with me. Can I tell you the one that's really stayed with me?
Mhm.
Because it's going to stay with you too. There was this little boy. He was like, I don't know, maybe 10, if I remember correctly. And he came home from school and he walked up to his front door and it didn't open. And eventually someone came to the door and it was not a person he recognized and they didn't know who he was. And what he thought was his house wasn't. And the lady who opened the door wasn't his mom. The kid ended up at the police station where the cops couldn't make heads or tails of his story. You know, he ended up with a psych evaluation and all of this stuff. And as far as anyone knows, he ended up in foster care and made a life in this timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in an adjacent world next door or down the street a little bit is a grieving family whose little boy never came home from school. Doesn't that give you the woo-woos?
It does.
Yeah. So I'm sort of fascinated by that. Sort of obsessively fascinated by time glitching. And we wanted to do an episode that suggested a time glitch, but because there's no proof that it's true, we had to find a case of a missing person who literally vanished off the face of the earth,
Yeah.
who could have glitched through time. So that's an upcoming episode too. Yeah. Doesn't that really, like, make your blood run cold? Imagine walking up to your front door and your key doesn't work and the people who live in the house have no idea who you are. Whew.
And it's spooky. It is. True.
Whoa.
Weird stuff.
Stuff for sure. So yeah, that's an upcoming episode. Isn't that creepy? Jeff and Patty, doesn't that blow your mind?
I'm looking forward to putting that together.
And Pat's right. Pat says, sometimes I'd like to try the other multiverse. I need a break from this one. You know what? Sometimes I think, y'all, in all seriousness, I think we're in the wrong timeline. We did a whole episode on the Mandela effect and the multiverse, and how when they fired up the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland, the particle collider looking for the Higgs boson, they broke reality and flung us into an adjacent timeline. And sometimes I look at reality and I'm like, shit, this ain't right.
I have such like a fascination with the weasel theory, which is where when the weasel went into the super collider, it jetted us into an alternate reality.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, like, you can poo poo it, but you don't know. We don't
We don't know. No.
we don't know. We are everything we thought we knew about the universe is being challenged right now, because as our science and technology expands and improves, our ability to ask questions expands and improves. And some of the answers that are coming back the math doesn't match. We don't know.
We don't know. Which is
We
why
don't know.
being a true weirdo means just having an open mind.
Let me read Suzanne Banks's comment. When I was driving to my sister's house a few weeks ago, I had to be there at a certain time, and I looked at the clock thinking, I'm not going to make it. I wasn't sure how that happened since I left early. It was then I realized that I was closer to her house than I thought, lots of trees and no landmarks, but somehow I lost 12 minutes of time and have no idea what happened. These little lost time glitches, these Mandela effect moments. One of our listeners, Max, sent me, she took a picture of the Fruit of the Loom cornucopia,
Oh, yeah.
the very same cornucopia that Fruit of the Loom tells you never
Never
existed.
existed.
Mm-hmm.
Sherry and I have lost whole hours at a time. I mean, at the same time. They were called programming staff meetings.
Oh, oh my God. If only a hole in the space time continuum would have opened up and swallowed us.
And they tried to keep us there with cheap pizza.
It's not hard to find decent pizza. Like, I felt like they went out of their way to find the worst pizza.
They did find the
And they
worst.
would have it delivered at about 8 a.m. so that it was ice freaking cold and congealed by the time we got to it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the story about the two black holes that collided the other day?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I
did.
did. I did see that, and then there's something else that's traveling. So they've discovered just recently that there is a planet that's the size of Jupiter, but it's not in any orbit of any kind. That's one thing, and then there's something else that I can't remember how big it is, but it's rather large, and it's coming into the into our solar system, and they're tracking it, and they'd never seen anything like it or shaped like it before.
I have days, honest to God, y'all, and I don't want this for my children or yours, but I have days where I'm like, bring it. Let's go. Let's just let's just fucking go. Let's go.
Well, so the theory is that those two black holes collided, jetted us into yet a third reality timeline.
Can I just ask, how is it possible that we were in the best timeline? And that every timeline since gets worse and worse and worse, or weirder and more like nuts. Like, y'all, you need to straighten up and fly right. You know that this is not how you're supposed to be acting. Let me address humanity. You know that this is not how you're supposed to behave. Knock it off. Every Monday, we started a new feature on the show a few months ago. Every Monday, Lamar is challenged to come up with at least one reason why Earth should not be obliterated by an asteroid. And I have to tell you, today, I was like, "Hey, Lamar, I'm going to send you an article. There's an asteroid the size of the Leaning Tower of Pisa making a beeline for us. See you Monday." Yeah, this timeline is. Yeah. They did find another planet, another Earth-sized planet in our solar system, just in case you thought we knew everything, because we don't know everything. In fact, we know just about nothing about anything. We know, as someone once very colorfully said to me, "Girl, you don't know dick about shit." That is humanity. We don't know dick about shit. We did find another Earth-like planet. And then I read today on one of my science websites that one of the things that makes our planet special, which is why we should love it and take better care of it and be grateful we're living on it for this moment in time, one of the things that makes it special is its size. That planets this exact size are super duper rare. You can have giant, big planets like Jupiter, and you
Mhm.
can have little tinier planets like Mercury. But having a planet this size, with all of the factors that support life, why are you behaving like this? Here we went to all this trouble to make you all of these nice things and give you all these opportunities. Why are you acting like this?
Why indeed?
Why indeed? Why indeed? I love what Kat said. I just can't believe the more you speak, the more at home I feel. Girl, you have found your people. You have found your people. There is nothing, yes, it's scary to ask questions and it's scary to think about big ideas and it's terrifying to imagine how finite we are.
Mhm.
But are you just going to spend your whole life on this beautiful planet scratching your balls? Come on, you can do better. Come on, there's more to it than that. Oh, y'all, please
Um,
don't make me turn this car around.
Before we go, I want to ask also if you listen, if you're not listening on the Bob and Sherry app to the podcast, and you're on like Apple or even
Spotify
Spotify,
or whatever.
if you could leave a comment, if you could leave a review and then rate it, it really helps us in getting discovered. It helps us. So if you could do that, that would be really nice. And if you leave a review, say nice things. We like hearing
Ideally,
nice. Ideally, we
ideally,
like
that would
hearing
be
nice
great.
things. That would be the best.
I texted Max earlier this week. I was like, Max, we got a review on Apple that said the show was captivating. Now, I know the word captivating will not pay your rent, but captivating is good.
It is. It is nice to hear. The thing I like about Spotify is you can comment on each episode, which is kind of neat. Apple, it's sort of a general, but you can, and people have put stuff on specific episodes on Spotify.
I also just want to say, for you people that are watching it on YouTube, I see your comments. I need you to know. I know you're
Oh,
there.
that's right. Yeah, you can see it on YouTube.
Crystal said, like Goldilocks, we put our feet up on the table here in this world and made ourselves too comfortable. I don't care what you believe. I really don't care what your theology or cosmology is. If you think that you're on this earth to treat other people like shit, you are mistaken. That
No.
is not what we're here for. That is not what we're here for. And it goes by so, so, so fast. And do you really want to look back? Do you really want to be on your deathbed and look back and go, ah, man, dude, I bonered this. I missed every opportunity to be decent. I missed every opportunity to be curious. Why would you want to do this?
Mm.
Elizabeth said, I just stumbled across this on Facebook. Is this a weekly thing? We do True Weird Wednesday once a month, Elizabeth, and then we do a regular happy hour on Thursdays typically.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling like you just found your community and your people, welcome. We're glad to
Yeah.
have you here.
Absolutely.
Just you might be here for 20 years. You might be here for like Max's mom and dad for 102 years. But if you're spending any of those years being a selfish, monstrous, bigoted dick, you've wasted it.
You have.
Mm-hmm.
You've wasted it. You
The
have.
whole, the whole
You've wasted it.
purpose is to love people and be of service to people. And I know that sounds like, oh, that sounds nice, but no, that really is.
No, do it. If you, like, I think about my father sometimes who fell and hit his head and no one discovered him for days and days and days. When he finally ended up in the hospital, he had suffered so much catastrophic oxygen deprivation to his brain that he was dead, but with a beating heart, and they plugged him into a machine. And that man did not live one day of his life thinking of anything other than his own immediate gratification. And what a waste of a life. Like,
Mhm.
what an absolute freaking waste of a life. Don't do that. The next piece of True Weird merchandise that we'll make and give away will be our motto, which is don't be a dick. Because it's really kind of simple,
Sherry, what's
right?
that going to be shaped like?
I'm thinking something cylindrical and maybe purple. Don't be a dick. And if you go, I know you're out there, Chad. Well, what's your definition of a dick? We all know what a dick is.
What you're doing right now?
Yeah, we all know what a dick is. Don't be a dick. Because at the end of your life, we're all going out the same way. And you, Dick, are also going out that way. The difference is that in your last moment of consciousness, you will realize that you threw this beautiful opportunity to be silly and curious and compassionate and loving and goofy and kind. You threw it all away on being a great, big, selfish dick that nobody grieves. Is that what you want? I don't think so. This is my mission in life. This is my mission in life is to persuade y'all to not be dicks, okay? It's a small thing. It's a tiny goal, but
Not exactly the same message as the Sermon on the Mount, but it's close, you know?
oh, it's adjacent. Don't be a dick is Sermon on the Mount adjacent, Max. Let me tell you. Have a soul. Thank you very much, Sherry Wallace. Have a soul. And speaking of having a soul, Max and I and Lamar and Doc were talking about the Brian Koberger sentencing
Oh,
hearing. That is a man, that is a walking meat suit minus a soul. What do
yeah.
you think, Max?
I don't think that when you want, I watched some of that today when we took a little break, and I was watching a little bit of that, and there's just nothing there. And it makes you wonder, how did you become that? And were you born that? And did you evolve into that? And is that anyone's fault that you're that way? It's haunting is what it is.
We're running a little bit late, but Max, let's take a moment and talk about the Catholic theological doctrine of ensoulment.
Well, I'm not an expert on it, Sherry. There were sometimes I was asleep in class. I mean, I think that I do believe that we do all have a soul. I think we have whatever our essence is, you know.
Catholic theology teaches that life begins at first breath, okay? Which um woo, is that a bucket of ice cold water on the head for some folks. So Catholic theology teaches that life begins at first breath and that somewhere between conception and first breath ensoulment happens. Ensoulment. We should do an episode on this. What do you think, Max? We
Yeah.
should do an ensoulment episode.
Especially since I didn't have the answer at the top of my head like you do.
Well, that's because you've spent all day in your dark windowless closet with your schnauzer and no ventilation.
And I and I did spend 2 years at the high school seminary specializing in this sort of thing, but somehow I missed that.
Well, you're not thinking clearly because there's not enough oxygen in your workspace. And Tony feels bad about that, but oxygen costs money, Max. What are you going to do? So
Can we get some
this
portable
idea of what does the word ensoulment means? It means the moment the soul enters the body. And so if the soul has to enter the body, you could make the case that not every body, maybe for every million bodies, you get a handful that a soul didn't enter. And I believe there are people walking amongst us who are empty skin suits. There's no soul. Brian Koberger is one. Our former manager is one. Like we have,
Sherry, which former manager?
I think we know. I think we know which one. So
I say, "Hey Sherry," and Siri gets in on the conversation.
So yeah, so this idea of, and even if you look at like the past life research that's been done by the University of Virginia, um, you will see that there are children who report memories of being in utero and coming in and out of that body, their soul coming in and out of that body. So it's fascinating. We definitely need to do an ensoulment episode. And it's one of those things, like Patty, you said, I grew up Catholic. I never knew that. One of the problems, one of the challenges to talk when you're talking about ensoulment is that people are so like rabidly didactic about, when life begins.
Yeah.
And so the Catholic Church always taught that it begins with first breath and that ensoulment happens sometime in that journey in utero. So maybe, yeah, we'll do an episode on that. And Jane said she loves it on the show when we all say goodbye to Karamia and send Karamia off to work. I'm going to miss that. We're about a week or so away from Karamia going to school in Colorado, and we won't be able to tell her to have a great day and that we all love her.
We can call her.
We're going to need Carla or somebody to step up. Start leaving the house in the middle of the show so we can say goodbye. Yeah, so we will do an ensoulment episode. And if you were thinking of sending me a DM with some crazy stuff in it, like kind of don't. Because I will read it and I will respond, but don't be a dick, I guess is what I'm saying. I respect you.
Crazy stuff.
You will not find someone more welcoming and desirous of embracing you and all of your stuff. Don't send me crazy, angry, hateful screeds. I will reply and then I'll block you, and because life is short and you don't need to be a dick.
Crystal says, if Siri can understand Max of all people, the rest of us Apple users are all doomed. You have no idea, Crystal. I'll call and have the voice prompts, and I'll say things very clearly, and it'll go, "I'm sorry, I didn't understand you." And I'm going, I'm the
This
guy
man is a
people hire
professional voice talent.
clearly. I'm the guy people hire, and you can't understand me?
Karamia! Karamia! Someone just had a great idea. Let me get Karamia out here and we'll all say goodbye and tell her that we love her, and then we'll wrap up happy hour.
Okay.
She's in her room, in her feelings, packing. We have had a lot of tears. Teapot!
Yeah?
Come here. Everybody wants to tell you they love you and to have a good day at work. Come here.
I'm not. It's 8 p.m. I'm not going to work, you psychos.
Just stick your head in so everyone can say they love you and to have a good trip to Colorado.
Hi, have a good trip to Colorado.
And we love you.
We love
Thank
you. Have a good trip.
I love you guys too. I was falling asleep. I'm gonna be honest.
And we did you a favor. You don't need to be falling asleep at this time of night.
I guess. My day off.
Love you. Everyone says enjoy your adventures. Love you, Karamia. Bye. Bye.
That's very sweet. Thank you guys.
Y'all, thanks for joining us for True Weird Wednesday. We'll do it again next month. We'll be back for our regular happy hour next, right, Heather? Next Thursday with Lamar. We gave him the night off because True Weird stuff is hard enough for him. Am I right, Max?
Yes. It really stretches Lamar a little bit more than I think he'd care to be stretched.
So we're so glad that you came and hung out with us tonight. Make sure you pop on over to trueweirdstuff.com if you haven't already and sign up to sit at the True Weird Kids lunch table. And you could win one of these incredibly awesome True Weird Stuff hoodies, which you can wear to court or to hide a body. Either way, it doesn't show stains. It's sturdy. The logo's embroidered, not printed, so it's not going to peel off in the dryer.
Blood comes out of it very easily, too.
Blood. Well, I mean, what blood doesn't come out, you can't even see. Okay? So good luck to you. We'll see you on the next happy hour. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. And check out this week's episode called People Chow with our listener, Brenna Ralston, who inspired the whole thing. And we do take suggestions. So if you have an episode suggestion for True Weird Stuff, you could find yourself on an upcoming show too. We love you. Good night. See you next time.
Bye.